beginning to think you didn't hear that gong. Is it on? It's not on. Hello? No? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. Well, good morning. Y'all are going to be, when we make motions today, y'all were so good about following instructions. Now, this morning it's going to be Simon Says. And I want to see how many of you do it. Those that don't, just go and leave. Bow with me. Gracious Heavenly Father, here we are again, asking you to forgive us of our sins, to say thank you for the blessings that you give us individually and corporately. Lord, keep us from evil and keep us from causing pain. Direct us and guide us and let us do things that please you. I ask these things in the name of the Prince of Life. Amen. Let me give y'all one other little goodie so that we all understand one another. Being the chairman of rules, I think this is the most important spot in the building. Now, I might get argument from you other chairmen, but I think in the 8 years, is it 8 years that I've been here? 8 years that I've been here, rules starts at 9 o'clock. I don't really give a flip what other meeting you have. If you are a chairman and you are having a 9 o'clock meeting, that means that's more important than being on this committee. I'm going to let you make the choice. I don't want to hear that, oh, I have another meeting. If you have another meeting, you can get off this committee. Real simple. You don't want to be on here, I don't want you. And I'm the best chairman there is. Any argument? Mr. Williams.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to let you know if you clear up some spots, I am available on the chairmanship.
Okay. I'm going to write that down on something. It's probably a piece of toilet paper, but I'll write it down. Okay. Wall. Quick. The magic words. Quick. Mr. Watson.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I bring before you today HB 723. This is a new bill. It's the first one under structured rule at the bottom of your sheet. This is creating a sales tax exemption for the veterinary diagnostic labs that are administratively attached to the Georgia Department of Agriculture. We've been appropriating money for them, and they've been paying sales tax on their supplies and things that they buy. So we're just allowing them to use those resources in their budget now instead of returning them back to the general fund.
Do we have questions? No questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Pizzo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. House Bill 79, modified structure. This bill deals with data obtained using automated license plate reader systems. Bill does two things. First, it makes the data exempt from open records request, and secondly, it states that if you are not under investigation for a crime, that your data must be purged after 30 months.
We got questions. Ms. Hughley.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Mr. Pizzo, why would they keep it that long, 30 months?
That was the language that we could agree on. This same bill actually passed the House, I believe, with a 12-month provision 2 years ago, but they wanted to bring the 12 months up to 30 months to be in conjunction with the body camera regulations.
Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may have just touched on the answer to my question, Representative. That is, what is the current law that we're changing?
There is no limit. They can keep your data from 6 years ago if they've still got it.
And so when you mentioned about a 12-month period, you mentioned a previous bill that did not pass. Is that what that was?
Yes. So this bill actually passed the House in 2015 and just ran out of time in the Senate. So I believe that was 12 months, but since then we negotiated and it's now 30 months.
Thank you.
Mr. Martin.
Thank you. Representative, help me out here. This information was kept, for instance, at the toll plaza. That you're looking at other places where these are kept as well?
This actually does not apply to toll plazas because that's a separate authority. Okay. So what I'm talking about is the license plate readers on the back of law enforcement vehicles. Fair enough. They basically time and date stamp where every car is and when they're there. Okay,
if I can continue with the question, I thought we actually took care of that a few years ago because there was an issue, was there not, about the data that was being kept by toll systems could be used as travel patterns, and bad actors could know when you weren't at your place of residence. So this is a different section of code for law enforcement. Is this information, as it's collected today, immediately available as a public record?
Yes, that's correct. So if I had your license plate number, I could file an open records request to say, I want to know everywhere Representative Martin has been for the last 5 years and when he goes there.
I would just go there. I have the same issue with that I had back with the toll plaza. I mean, a bad actor could actually turn our law enforcement, against folks if they were to request specific license plates for all the people that lived in the house and realize when people were always out of town. I don't know if there's a way to work that into this bill, or maybe that's a different measure, but it's well, and that's for misconduct.
Well, that's why this bill makes this data exempt from the open records requests.
So it does that immediately.
Makes them exempt from open records requests immediately? Immediately. Well, upon signage.
No, but the data immediately, not after 30 months.
I don't understand the question.
I'll get with you.
We'll talk. Okay. Thank you, sir.
No more questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Bonner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Bring you again today House Bill 487. It's the third down under modified structure rule. This is an amendment to the Disaster Volunteer Relief Act, which includes our Civil Air Patrol. It adds the Civil Air Patrol in the same category as we currently have for our Red Cross personnel.
No questions. Mr. Belton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I bring before you House Bill 699, third from the bottom of the modified open rule. It's a firefighter certification of military firefighting training may be accepted as required basic training for civilian training.
No questions. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Mr. Petrie.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Thank you again. I bring to you House Bill 618, about halfway down, modified structured, a bill that would incorporate the city of Skidaway Island. I would emphasize that, again, that this was a very strong grassroots effort, been discussed for many years. We're lowering taxes based on the current SSD tax rate as we do this. I live in this area that would be incorporated, and there has been no opposition to date from a single county commissioner or city council member. So we have had no organized or real opposition from anybody on the county level.
No questions.
Thank you.
Members, wait a second. Wait a second. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This House Bill 655 on the modified open rule, third one down from the top. This just requires that the boards of education place a poster in the schools, high level for children, encouraging them to, it's okay to tell if they're being abused, it's okay to find a trusted adult. Just real simple, no cost to anyone. A little PDF file that can be printed, and I'll be glad to answer any questions.
You got a picture?
Yes, sir, have a picture.
Hold it up.
And this has a toll-free number that's already in effect from DFACS. It's 855 Georgia Child. This number is already there and in effect, and is being utilized. It is manned 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Any questions? The vice chair wanted to know if he should go over there and show y'all what high level to a child was. Come on. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Willard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask for House Bill 538. This is a measure that is a little unusual. The Fulton County Board of Education retirement system was created back in the 30s, and the legislature at that time apparently had the only oversight and governance of this plan has continued all these years. Every time there was a need to make a change in the plan, it required coming back to the legislature to get the plan modified, changed for whatever reason. It's the only plan, I believe, in the state of Georgia that is still under the control of the legislature, and what we're doing is the Fulton County delegation, as far as the Board of Education, part of it is seeking to have this changed to put it back in or put it now in the hands of the school board, and the oversight that will remain is they cannot change the benefits of the plan without coming back, getting approval by local legislation to the delegation of Fulton County.
Any questions? No questions, thank you. Mr. Powell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to ask for House Bill 751 on the bottom of the modified structure list. This is basically the same bill that passed the General Assembly last year on 911 Communications Authority. First time in probably 40 years it was a consolidated effort, thanks to Chairman Parsons and his committee, to clean up all of that language on the technical stuff about putting all of the phones under the $1.50 charge. The difference in the governor vetoed his own bill last year because of a change in what they wanted to do as far as setting up the authority, 911 authority. This year, what they've recommended, they want us to put the authority administratively attached the 911 authority to GEMA, Homeland Security, for administrative purposes. The telecom providers that collect those $1.50 fees would remit that money to the Revenue Department. Revenue Department would then in turn cut the checks to all of the 150 some odd 911 systems in the state. Problem we've had that they've seen was that the slowdown in money has created problems because now the county governments and the local jurisdictions are having to put in more into their support of the 911 authorities. And this is basically moving forward. The board would have certain functions like looking at new ways for the next generation of 911 for the safety of Georgia citizens.
Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Powell, I think I mentioned this to you earlier, but I don't know what changes y'all may have made in committee. Does the Speaker of the House get to appoint any members to this authority?
No, sir. Neither does the Lieutenant Governor.
Last year, when this bill came through, we changed it so that the Speaker of the House could have appointments to this authority. Would you be opposed to doing that?
If the Speaker tells me that's what he wants, and I will certainly offer that amendment.
Thanks,
I
sir.
have not heard from the Speaker.
No more questions. Anybody else? Okay. All right. I'm going to set the calendar then for tomorrow, Thursday, February the 8th. All right, here's the way we're going to do this. Now, when I ask for a motion in a second, rather than say aye, yes, or raise a hand, we're going to ask you to stand up, turn around, and do the hoochie coochie.
I don't think you can do it to get on.
Now what's important about this is I want to see how many of you do it. I'm lying. Come on, it's morning. Good grief. All right. Yeah, I won't be having fun towards the end of the session, so let's have a little, lighten up. This is not life and death yet. It turns into that apparently 2 or 3 times a year. Okay, under modified open, HB 538. Do I hear a motion? Do I hear a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Same sign for those opposed. It's on. Under modified open, HB 655. Have a motion, 2 motions for a second. All those in favor signify by aye. Same sign for those opposed. It's on. Modified open, HB 699. All those in favor signify by aye. Any opposed? Same sign. It's on. Under modified structure, HB 618. Have move in second. All those in favor signify by aye. That's enough. Thank you.
They're going to take the gates down so I can write, so I can 618, so I can write on the road with my taxpayer dollars.